Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and welcome to another StarCraft cast. Today we are looking at some games from Zenio and he is up against a pretty solid Korean player in this match, so I'm excited about it. Let me introduce them to you. In the top right position we do have the Red Zerg playing for Team Liquid. It is Zenio. And his opponent in the lower left, the blue Terran, it is GuMiho playing for FX Open, and, well, that means that it is going to be a ZVT. For those of you who don't know GuMiho, he is a previous GSL Code S player. He's been up and down, arguably a little bit inconsistent, but nonetheless better than I will ever be at this game, so that is the important thing, that he should be giving Zenio a good run for his money. The map, Daybreak, everyone's favourite map ever, and I think it will be everyone's favourite map ever. I don't think you could get a better map than this. I hope I'm proved wrong, I honestly do, but in terms of just general fun and excitement and balance, there's so much going on. But let's talk a little bit about strategy. Should be 15 hatch, 16 pool at a Zenio. For GuMiho, probably a 1 Rax CC, as we see the barrack coming down now already. 1 Rax CC, a very solid opening, to be honest. It's something that you can afford to do really comfortably against Zerg, especially on Daybreak. You've just got a long rush distance, you're perfectly safe doing that. Drop play, also possible. You've got a lot of dead space around the main base. You can come in and drop here quite comfortably. Also down to the third, you can get drops in nice and easy too. So hopefully we'll see GuMiho go for some dropping. In terms of taking a quick third, it's not the easiest map to take a really fast third on, but once you get the third down, your fourth actually isn't too bad as a Terran, because you start pushing forward, and from this sort of position, you can quite easily defend both your third and naturals. So if we get into super late game, that is likely to be the case. For Zenio, he can spread out. He can come and expand down here. He can also take the center base should he want to. As long as these rocks aren't taken out, he shouldn't be in too much of a bad shape. Now, apparently I was wrong in guessing that we'd be seeing a 1 Rack CC. Instead, the gas coming out, but the drone for Zenio has managed to make it in, but has not scouted the gas. That is so important. The gas has not been seen, and as such, Zenio will now just be expecting that 1 Rack's command center. He won't be thinking, ooh, maybe my opponent is going to put on some aggression. So what sort of aggression will it be? At the moment, the command center is coming down. That gas, though, being earlier will allow for just a slightly quicker factory out, slightly quicker reactor Hellion should you want that. But it's just a different build to what we're used to seeing. Usually a 1 Rack command center goes down, 1 Rack CC, then the 2 gas, then the factory reactor, switch them. This is just a different approach to the situation, and it'll be interesting to see how Zenio deals with it when he hasn't actually scouted it out. In terms of what Zenio's getting up, he's got his gas there, he's got his natural up now, he's getting just a handful of Zerglings, literally just the 2 of them out on the field. They're most likely going to take the From Watchtower and also just come and poke around here to get a good look at what could be happening. The factory now coming down for GuMiho. He's just really going for the standard of standard play, and everyone likes that. If you're going standard, it's fine. It means we're likely to get a longer macro game, and longer macro games tend to be more exciting, especially if the 2 players do a lot of harassment as opposed to just macroing up their Deathball army and just sitting and staring at each other, which unfortunately has become quite common in a lot of Wings of Liberty games, but is something that I have yet to actually see in Heart of the Swarm, which makes me so excited about the expansion. Of course, I've been doing a lot of expansion games, both with tournaments and also just on my channel. So, as such, I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of that, and I can tell you that if you haven't checked it out, you really should, because it is so good, and it's awesome fun to play as well. And now, let's just talk about what's coming down in this match, though. A 3rd CC coming down super early, so a very greedy, economical build. This CC will stay in base likely for a long time, will just produce extra SCVs, and that just means that GuMiho will be able to keep up with Zenio's 3rd base a little bit longer, just in terms of the work production and also with the extra mule. For Zenio, though, he is getting his speed up. He's still just mining away at gas quite happily. We do have nothing that I would consider to be extraordinary going on for either player. The double engineering bay coming down for GuMiho, though, that just says that, hey, I'm really aiming towards the later game. I want a lot of upgrades. I may go for some kind of timing push with 1-1, but Stim on its way down, really just making sure that if this does go macro, which you're likely going to be aiming for with this third CC, that actually I can keep up with anything you do. And there we go, with the 1-1 upgrade started. Just the 2 Hellions should be a bit of a tell, to be honest, because most Terran players will get 4 or maybe even 6 Hellions out early on. So by only seeing 2, hopefully Zenio will be asking himself, hang on, where are the rest? Why have you only got those 2 Hellions out? And the answer is, just because this third CC came down super quick, just because he's getting up additional production. We do see now the Overlord is going to get an amazing scout out though, sees the third orbital command, sees those barracks, and even sees one of the engineering base. This is great news for Zenio. He's got his Baneling Nest on the way as well now. He's getting the +1 carapace down. So is he going to go for something a bit more aggressive? We'll wait to see. There goes +1 melee attack. Could be going for some kind of Baneling harass, knowing that his opponent is committing very heavily at the moment to infantry as opposed to getting any tanks out. We do see that now 4 Hellions are on the field. We've got 2 more in production, and this third command center is actually floating down here really quite early. So Zenio, if he does scout this out, it'll be good news, but for the moment, he's not really got the map control to do that. The Hellions are out, these Speedlings aren't going to be able to run around too much for the time being. But what we are now seeing is the 2-2 is going to get started up very soon for GuMiho, who's getting the armory ready to start 2-2 as soon as 1-1 finishes. Also building this nice little supply depot wall off to his natural, really securing himself against the potential threat of a Zergling run by into his natural and main base. So this is solid play out of the Terran player at the moment, and Zenio really needs to start doing some stuff to show that he's able to keep up with this style of play, because in terms of the worker count, he is just ahead, but the 3 mules probably put them quite equal. The additional gas income isn't there yet because Zenio is still only on the 4 gas, exactly the same as GuMiho, and as such we see that the lair still isn't finished. It's about to be finished up, but quite a late lair timing, to be honest. A lot of Banelings and Speedlings out on the field, but for the time being they're not really doing much. They will try and get us around on these Hellions. Will the Speedlings be able to do it? Well, they do get in front, but the Hellion control, just absolutely beautiful. They all get out of there completely fine, throwing a couple of Speedlings in the process, and that was just great control out of the Terran player. We do now see the lair is finished up. We've got 1-1 nearly done. We've got the macro hatch coming down, but the important thing is 2-2 already started for the Terran. The upgrade advantage may not be huge, but it's enough. An upgrade advantage is always going to be exceptionally beneficial the longer the game goes on. The infestation pit only now just getting started for Zenio, so that just means no infestors for quite a long period of time. All Zenio has tech-wise, really, are those Speedlings and Banelings, nothing else at all. That is a problem when your opponent is already getting up a very sizable force, the first medevac's about to be coming out, the first tank's likely to be coming out shortly. Siege mode does need to get started though soon for GuMiho, otherwise he will get a little bit behind there, but Zenio now taking his 4th. He hasn't actually scouted out this 3rd yet, but probably assumes it's there after scouting it in the main base, that it should have been floated down at that point. But of course, the big thing I'm noticing is that all of these units here haven't really done anything for this entire game. There is now a push coming across. The Overlord was taken out, so this means that Zenio should know it's coming. Will need to pull back and be a little bit more defensive. The Hellions moving forward, just trying to force everything back. A couple of units staying down here. And where is GuMiho going to go? It's purely Marines with a couple of Hellions. But with good spreading, the Banelings will not be enough to engage this. So what is GuMiho going to do? Well, he's going to run a couple of Marines forward in order to start pushing back the creep tumors. That's one of the most important things you can do, just to deny the vision and also reduce the risk of Speedlings getting a good surround with the speed advantage. But pulling back, and I think that's a really nice trick, because while it may not seem like he's done that much damage yet, he's forced Zenio to make quite a lot of units. Not necessarily the units he would have wanted, but it also just plays a little bit of mind games that for the moment Zenio doesn't know if this push is coming up here, but I love this from Zenio, using that queen in order to push forward. We do have some Marines coming over, but in come the Zergling and Banelings. GuMiho pulling back as best he can. He's going to have to get some good spreading, otherwise those Banelings are going to get some good hits, and they do get some absolutely beautiful engagements right there. And as such, a lot of this Marine force has got taken out exceptionally quickly for GuMiho, who lost an awful lot there, but he is on 2-2. And that is an advantage short term, but of course Zenio is nearly leveling out with that. He's getting his hive on the way as well. It's already half done. And as such, I would say Zenio just came off in a good spot, killing off all of those Marines. It's really where he'll want to be. He's kept GuMiho's army a little bit smaller, and now with the Infestors out as well, to be honest, this really Marine-heavy style is going to start struggling when you're up against Baneling and Infestor. This tank count needs to start climbing higher. Siege mode, though, has not been researched. It's not even started yet. That is something that I find absolutely extraordinary. And as such, this Ling Bling style is going to be super effective against GuMiho at the moment, and Zenio could be running into some problems. But the big thing here is the Doom drop coming in. There are Overlords scouted, and there's a handful of Zerglings and Banelings here, but that is just not gonna be enough. There is too much stuff in these medevacs. There is a grand total of 5 coming in to drop, and now you're running into a point where actually this tiny force may not be able to deal with it. One tank luckily going down in time. Zenio pulling back everything. The Hive getting focused, taking an awful lot of damage. Zenio rapidly trying to pull back all of these Speedlings, trying to defend it, but the Hive is gonna go down now. That is a huge loss for Zenio. Luckily though, he had already started his Ultralisk Cavern. As a result, he should be okay. Meanwhile, another drop coming down into the 3rd base. The Banelings coming around the side, but a good pickup out of GuMiho. Good pick up and drop micro, picking off one of those Banelings there for free. That's a good move by itself. Lots of Speedlings on their way across though. Are they going to be able to engage this army? Well, of course, without siege mode yet, those tanks aren't going to be able to deal with such a large volume of Speedlings. But forward comes GuMiho. A couple of the Speedlings run forward. Zenio decides to pull back. It wouldn't have been a great engage for him with that many medevacs there. But of course, Ultra's on their way out. The Spire is now finished. But with the Spire does not come the greater Spire due to the fact that the Hive was taken out. So Zenio really focused on getting out Ultras now. Luckily though, the Ultralisk Cavern has not yet been seen, and as such it could catch GuMiho off guard, who only has 3 Marauders on the field at the moment, although has now started a lot of Marauder production. I don't know if that's in anticipation of it, but here we go. The tank's now sieging up. That is going to force back Zenio. Siege mode really does zone out your opponents so effectively. The 3-3 upgrades are on the way for both players, actually at pretty similar timings, to be honest. Slightly ahead for GuMiho, but with the Chitinous plating, we should see a small advantage for Zenio's Ultras, at least until the Marauder count starts getting higher. But GuMiho, he's pushing forward. Zenio just trying to get a good attack angle. That medevac keeping a good look, but in come the Ultras. A lot of those tanks weren't sieged. A good fungal growth hit on a lot of stuff here. That's allowing the Ultras to engage very effectively, and most of these tanks now gone down. The infested Terrans are cleaning it up as well. The Ultras all survive, and as such Zenio, he is now in a beautiful position. He's getting some Corruptors out. His Hive is half done yet again, so he's transitioning into the spot where actually I can switch into Broodlords late game. He's got the 3-3 upgrades about to complete. That on top of the Ultra Armor upgrades means those Ultras are going to be tough to take out, but of course, as we've seen, GuMiho, he's produced an awful lot of Marauders here. Already 15 on the field, 5 at a time coming out. So that means that the Ultras will get taken down, but the important thing for Zenio is if he gets this tech switch off well, if he gets the Broodlords out in a sizable number, as a Terran who's committed so heavily to Marauders, you're not going to have the forces that you really need to deal with the Broodlords. But of course, the one thing GuMiho knows is that having picked off the Hive, if there were going to be Broodlords, he would have seen them already. So he's just able to produce more medevacs for the time being, as opposed to being forced to make many Vikings, and he hasn't actually got more than 4 out right now. So as a result, his army very well catered towards dealing with Zenio's, and is now just going to be pushing forward with the maxed out supply. Both players currently sitting there on 5 bases, but look at this, some Queens caught out of position here. This is a good little pick off. The creep getting taken down as well now. Zenio being forced to be everywhere at once. Of course, we see that this one Marauder is just chipping away at drones, being completely ignored. The Queen will come and kill it now, but the Queen only deals 1 damage a hit with a Marauder with 3-3 upgrades. So as such, we're in a situation where now Zenio is sort of scrambling around. He needs to defend everywhere. He needs to try and deal some damage, and that is what something like the Speedling run by will hopefully be able to achieve. But with the Planetary Fortress there, not much is going to happen. The center rocks are still up at the 20-minute mark, but yet again, more drops incoming, and there's not much here to defend it, but neither is there much key tech in the main base. So what we're going to see is GuMiho just push forward. Is he going to try and get behind here? It seems like he will, and if he does position himself right behind this mineral line, those speedlings are not going to have much success. Meanwhile though, we do see a big engagement coming down here. The Ultras streaming in, fungal growth hitting everywhere, but the Marauders doing good damage already. We can see that those Ultras are starting to fall, but just with superior force numbers, will Zenio be able to deal with it? The answer, no, he will not. The Marauders are chipping away at that Greater Spire, and if it falls before any Broodlings start, that is going to be so frustrating, and it does go down. So Zenio now stuck with only Ultras as his tier 3 tech for a long period of time. This drop dealing so much damage. Luckily the Infestation Pit's staying up, but the Zerglings are trying to engage into the Marauders, who are happily choked up in a nice little defensive position. They will go down, but it's really the best engagement that GuMiho could have hoped for. And with the fact that the Greater Spire has now been taken out, that leaves 5 Corruptors, which can't really do much, but also Ultras against 20 Marauders. That is never, ever going to be fun, and this is the sort of situation where, as a Zerg player, things couldn't be going much worse for you. Trying to take this bottom base as well, so trying to out-expand his opponent, but as we can see from GuMiho, just taking these additional command centers everywhere. He's also got +3 ship weapons on their way out, and that's important because even though he's delaying Zenio's tech towards Broodlords, he's still taking all the precautions ready for when the Broodlords come out in order to deal with them as best he can. A little engagement coming down here, a good fungal growth hitting, a couple of Bailings streaming in, but just so many Marauders here at the moment. These Ultras are taking absolutely huge amounts of damage. This is a pure MMM force out of the Terran player at the time being, but it looks like Zenio, just with superior numbers there, is going to be able to deal with most of it. The Corruptors coming in and are chipping away at the medevacs. If they take those out, that really reduces how effective the infantry can be, and they are actually getting quite a few kills here, trying to keep the Viking numbers down low as well. But GuMiho now just producing so many Marauders, 7 Marauders at a time, just to deal with this pure ground force out of Zenio for the moment. Attempted a fungal growth there, didn't quite manage to hit, but what we're seeing is actually things starting to level out. That was a good engagement, both players losing very similar numbers of resources for the time being, only 1,000 resources between them. And now with the Greater Spire restarted, and where even is that Greater Spire? Hidden down here, we do see that actually Zenio may be able to execute that tech switch he so desperately needs, and with only 4 Vikings on the field, maybe he can pull off a good engagement. But in come the Ultras. Unfortunately though, we do see a small force of infantry coming here, which will manage to snipe off a single Ultralisk, which may not seem like much, but it's great news. Meanwhile, Zenio pushing in towards the center base as well. The Vikings trying to engage into those Corruptors. Need to be careful though, because the Corruptor count quite high. The infantry forces still going forward. Are some Infestors going to go down here? 1 does get caught, 2 get caught. This is very frustrating for Zenio. He cannot afford to be losing 4, maybe even 5, 6 Infestors now. And as a result, Zenio's Infestor count knocked down to the very bottom, which is 0. And as such, he really is going to start struggling. Without those fungal growths, he's got to remake those Infestors. Admittedly, he's got a huge bank, but it just leaves an open opportunity for GuMiho to push forward. Is he going to take it? He's pushing into these spine crawlers, pushing towards that center base. Zenio, a bit indecisive at the top. Shall I go for it? Shall I fall back to defend? Looks like he's choosing to just go for it. Some Broodlords are morphing in, though, in a defense position behind this big arc. So, as a result, he should be able to engage this force when it comes in. But the Broodlords, are they going to get spotted by the Vikings? The Vikings move forward, and once these Vikings can start engaging, this is going to be problems. You need something to pick those off. Of course, the infantry force now just moving down the top base for GuMiho has been taken out. A double lift went on those 2 orbital commands. The Vikings moving forward. The Queens trying to take them up. A transfuse goes down just in time for Zenio. So that means that these Broodlords will be able to stay up for the time being, and that will force GuMiho likely to pull back. But he's taken out the 5th and 4th base. As a result, he is still a base up on his opponent. That is always a lovely position to be in. He just needs to produce those Vikings, and produce them he will. 5 at a time coming out. They do have +3 ship weapons as well, but look at that Corruptor count. 13 Corruptors on the field, more coming out. Zenio knows that as long as he can keep these Broodlords up, he's going to be in an okay position. Speedling currently chipping away at a little bit of production, trying to just force GuMiho back, forcing him to come and defend. buying Zenio more time to get more out. He spent that entire trust fund of a bank very quickly, very easily getting out these Broodlord Corruptor forces. The Infestor count looking much more happy, up at 17 as well. And now you're in a situation as a Terran where actually I've just got 9 Vikings to go up against 15 Corruptors and 17 Infestors. Some more Speedlings coming in. Zenio really wants to put the pressure on GuMiho at the moment. He wants to make sure that actually you may have taken out 2 of my bases, but I am not going to make it easy for you. Those mass mule cooldowns are going to help GuMiho get an insane amount of mineral income, but forward comes the Broodlord force. A scan going off, trying to get a good read of what has my opponent got. Does he have enough Corruptors to deal with my Vikings? Will there be some big fungal growth? Wedding Sea? Yes, there they go. The fungal growth absolutely massive right now. The Broodlords are just going to start chipping away. The Vikings trying to engage head on. Some good corruption coming down from the Corruptors, and this damage is just really painful to watch. We do see that most of the Marines have been taken out. The Infestors are getting sniped off though by the Marauders stimming forward, but the fungal growth still going down. Zenio engaging oh so well. The Broodlords have stayed up, and with the Broodlords remaining, this is going to be near a no-win situation for GuMiho at the moment. He's trying to produce Vikings as fast as he can. He's up to 9. He's got 7 more coming out, but he needs to just wait. He needs to buy his time. He needs to try and engage as best he can. He's pushing in with those Corruptors. He's trying to knock them out as best he can with the Vikings, but the problem is the Broodlord's still here. The Broodlings still going to town on these bases. The Corruptor count at the moment is superior, but not... no, it has actually now fallen behind. So this means that with the next wave of Vikings coming out, GuMiho may be able to push through and take out this Broodlord force. But look at this, Speedlings coming towards the top base here. This is an action-packed game. The center base has been taken out now. Zenio is trying to capitalize on the fact that he's destroyed the infantry force, but now we're seeing just so many Vikings come out. The Vikings from the side as well. The Broodlords trying to retreat, but the Vikings just so much faster. The Corruptors nearly being completely destroyed. A couple of Infestors trying to come through here as well, trying to fungal growth the Vikings to keep them back. A couple of Infested Terrans getting locked down, but the Broodlords are dying so quickly. GuMiho completely starved of minerals though, so he is unable to produce too much more. The Viking count dropping as well as the Infestors start chipping away, as the Infested Terrans start chipping away. But look at this, there was a drop, or rather a run by of Speedlings coming towards the 3rd base, but GuMiho has fended it off for the time being, and still, somehow, these 2 players are in the game, and this has just been so action-packed. These 2 must be so stressed at the moment in terms of just the pressure on them to use their armies cost effectively. They are both very low on money. Luckily for Zenio, he does have this 5th and 4th base up. He is denying the bases of GuMiho. These tech labs getting taken out. The Speedlings are going to start hurting GuMiho's production, which doesn't matter too much because he is hardly getting any minerals coming in. His mineral income is actually sub 500 for the time being, but engagements in the middle. We do have some fungal growth going down. The Queens trying to get taken out. Where are the Vikings? The Vikings are nowhere to be seen. The Broodlords therefore are going to be fine for the time being, but in they come from the side now, going to start chipping away. Zenio has got an awful lot of its supply taken up with those Infestors, which are slowly running out of energy, just trying to fungal growth, trying to buy more time, but in come the Ultras, and with that, with the very low health infantry, this could be problems. The fungal growth hitting absolutely perfectly there, and with the Speedlings coming from the surround, GuMiho's force should get cleaned up. He's now sub 100 supply, down at 76. This planetary fortress is the remaining hope of GuMiho, but in comes Zenio. He gets the Speedlings there. He needs to just start chipping away at those SCVs, trying to take on the planetary fortress as a whole. No Infested Terrans coming out, and the repair looks to be just too much. The planetary fortress doing as much as it can, but finally those SCVs get taken out. GuMiho now has no income, and as a result is forced to GG out with the inferior army. But my goodness, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that was epic. I seriously enjoyed that game. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course subscribe. I will catch each and every one of you hopefully tomorrow for yet another new game. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.